Tearlaments have been out of the TCG meta for a little while, but I think I found a build that really comes closest to the unfair turn 0 plays Tearlaments used to have. Let's check it out. So we're right here on the beautiful playmat, which you can get at zerodamagegaming.com using the code Solemn. There's also a variant with only her, and there's a variant with only her. And if you still need a beautiful deck box, same story, zerodamagegaming.com. So let's start with the deck. I think you'll find that there's a few really spicy things I'm doing that really make this deck just way more oppressive in my opinion, but I won't take your attention too long. Let's just go for it. We start off with, of course, our triple Perla Rhino. Of course, you want to have your field spell, so you want to have 3 of this. This is why we also play 1 Terraforming, 1 Trivic Karma, and yes, triple Foolish Burial Goods. Now, I know a lot of people are already losing their mind right here. How dare you, triple Foolish Burial Goods? What if you brick on one? Look, if you don't have Perla Rhino, your deck sucks. If you don't have Sharon, your deck sucks. You want to always have all of these. And now you could say, oh, but what if you already opened a Perla Rhino? Well, then Goods gets literally anything else in the deck as well. So for that reason, triple Goods. I don't care if I sometimes will draw 2. It is simply worth having a broken starter like this. In an ideal hand, we have Sharon plus other plays, and this is gonna ensure that. Then, of course, we also have 1 Foolish Burial, because sending Agido or Kelbeck with 1 card is just way too good. And then we have the names. We have triple Rhino Heart. Of course, they have to all be ulti, otherwise, I mean, come on, we have to maximize our mill odds, right? So we want to have the prettiest Rhino Heart. Now, I see some people play 2. I truly do not understand why. Milling Rhino Heart is one of the best things you can do in the deck, especially because I play a lot of Tearlament cards. Like, all these Tearlament cards, even the slightly worse ones, are both good in the hand and in the graveyard, which is very rare for cards. And so being able to have enough Tearlaments cards in your hand so that when you do mill Rhino Heart, you can fully abuse it is absolutely cracked. Another reason to play triple Rhino Heart is that I play a certain engine in this deck that will ensure that on our opponent's turn, when they start the game, turn 0, we can already start playing on their turn, basically build our whole field so they can't even play ever. And having triple Rhino Heart then is crucial because you want to mill this card at all costs because this will allow you to actually build a whole field on turn 0. So triple Rhino Heart, absolutely required. Sometimes when I don't have like major plays, because that's like the biggest issue with the card, right? That we can't go into Kit Kalos, rest in peace, please come back. I will literally mill a Tearlaments Kashtira to mill 2. And often that gets me into massive plays because I simply run that much payoff in this deck. Then we play triple name, so 1 of each, basically to give our opponents a chance. You know, obviously we would love to play more of these, but then we would always win and then people would stop coming to locals. Oh no, the tier player is gonna stop me from playing again. So, you know, by running 1 of each, okay, sometimes they have a chance. Then we have triple Tearlaments Kashtira. This is like the best card in the deck. This is a great mill. This is great in hand. And also, of course, it allows us to play on our opponent's turn. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's not worth the minus. It is not worth putting another card from our hand away on turn 0 just to maybe mill. And I'm telling you, that's wrong because auto winning is so much better than not auto winning. Now, of course, if the rest of our hand is good and we notice our opponent's board isn't going to be amazing, so we will probably be able to break it in engine, then we don't use this. But if we notice our opponent is going to pop off hard right here and my hand might not be able to crack it, I will literally fire this thing off because this deck has so many good mills and so many potential plays that you will almost always build the full board in their turn and flood them out before they can play the game anyway. And Hafnis can do the same thing. So there's already 4 cards that allow us to just play in our opponent's turn, turn 0, and completely destroy them. Now, if this is currently confusing, just hold on. We'll get there soon. Everything will become clear. Then we're playing triple Scream because this is an absolutely crazy card. It is an amazing mill. It is an amazing starter. Like, literally, you could open Scream plus, like, Merly going first, and you'll probably have full combo. You could open Scream and Hafnis even going first and probably have full combo because milling is just that broken in this deck. Also, it's another tier card to be able to discard for Rhino Heart on turn 0, which is very important. We want to maximize the amount of tier cards so that our Rhino, if we mill it, will always fully resolve and auto win the game for us. And another really funny thing is that this lets us play through Puppet Lock. Like, I have straight up gotten Puppet Locked and then activated a Scream, placed a tier card, milled a little, passed turn. They have to start playing somehow and then just auto winning because all the mills just built my entire board and broke theirs for me. Now, if they want to be cheeky and then just go to battle phase, cool. That means you live another turn. And you might say, oh, but then they can puppet lock you again. That's fine, because one day I will have a shuffler and you will auto lose at that very second. You could also have other traps, of course, and like Tearlaments Cashin in your hand and so forth. So overall, you just have so many plays, even when getting Puppet Lock. Thanks to this card, it's absolutely crazy. It's like setting a D barrier. They just don't get to play. Then I'm playing one Tearlaments Grief. I will admit this is not the craziest card in this deck, but it's still pretty solid. Like, some people do not know how good this card actually is. It's basically a Foolish Burial for a tier name that can also send this card to just mill 2. It can also special Rhino Heart and then send this from the field to the graveyard to mill 2 again after it already milled 3. And also it plays really nicely around Droll, because like a lot of people know, Tearlaments doesn't like Droll, and some people are still coping on Droll as a card. So when you get Drolled, now you could actually like mill a trap, banish it with Tear Cash, and then just add it to your hand from the banish. Sometimes I might also mill one of my one-off traps, and then being able to banish it with Tear Cash, and that way add it back is also really nice. Because you're always gonna mill Scream just in combo anyway, so you can then choose Kaleido Heart's mill to send this. So that way you basically have both traps at all times. And having both traps at all times is very, very important, and I'll show you why later. Then I'm playing 2 Sulik and 1 Meta Noise. Of course, Sulik is like the best mill, and Meta Noise is actually a pretty solid mill as well. Being able to randomly add back like a Tear Cash is really impactful. And also having both on your field just feels way more solid. Now you might say, oh, but you can play Crime as well, and that's true. If a lot of people are playing evenly matched, you could probably add a Crime as well. But I find Meta Noise to be far more impactful personally, especially because it can also force a new special summon in your opponent's turn. So a lot of people are currently playing Board Breakers, and so they might be playing like Dark Ruler no more or something, or even Lava Golem. So they get rid of like your big threats, but if you still have a tier name on board after that, which you will probably have because you have like Tear Cash, or you might even still have a Hafnis in hand or something like that, being able to then go Meta Noise, even when it was Tear Cash, which wouldn't generate a new fuse, the Meta Noise will force the fuse through, which is very important because of a card that we will reach later, but you might already know which one it is. Next, we're playing triple King of the Swamp. This card is so underrated. I know a lot of people are like angry that they have to play this because of the name substitution, and that like finding Poly isn't good enough or something. That's bullshit. Being able to Guardian Chimera is like the best thing this deck has at going second. Obviously, this deck can in-engine break a lot of boards, but like Guardian Chimera ensures that you can break every board. I have not failed to break a board yet, except for a Rise Heart. But you know, when your Kashtira opponent places in a Rise Heart, or they shifter you, all you have to really do is go like, please don't. And then if they say no, you have a lunge break, which is cool as well. Now, we have the Shadol package, of course. The Shadols are basically like a really crazy engine because they are awesome to mill, and they also make a new boss monster. Now, why is this important? If you do not mill King of the Swamp, this deck has nothing to go into. Like, what are you gonna make? Mud Dragon and make it totally awesome? That's 3 cards in your extra deck that you really don't want to run just for that one play that might sometimes come up. But right now, I don't think it's worth it. Instead, we now have 3 more really good mills that also draw us cards, and that also makes like a really unfair floodgate boss, which is of course Winda. Now, you might be asking the question, why not Hell Hollow? And the reason is because Hell Hollow very often is very win more. The only moment where Hell Hollow actually mills a lot is when you already have a massive board with lots of attributes, at which point it's no longer really that necessary. Usually, what I found is that whenever I had a Hell Hollow mill, it was like 1 card, and I was wishing it was more, or I was wishing that it was a draw, which Squamata into Beast will always be. Another really crucial thing is that Squamata is an amazing chain block beast, because Squamata will be able to send Beast, and then Beast in the next chain will also be able to chain block, which is something that's happening very often. I want to ensure at no point I can be like stopped in awkward ways or anything like that. Like maybe you might mill like Agido, Squamata, and then you want to be able to go 2 Squamata, 1 Agido, and then Agido might mill a name, and then I want to be able to go 2 Beast, 1 name, continuously chain blocking. So Squamata is just an amazing card for chain blocking. Also going second, even though they might have interruptions. If you have Squamata, that means you're going to have Beast, and that means you're going to be able to chain block a bunch of stuff that otherwise would be very easily belled and so forth. And a lot of people are playing Bell because of Labyrinth. Also, Hell Hollow is a fat brick, like it's a brick that you can't get out of your hand, whereas Squamata is at least a normal summon level 4, meaning you can overlay with it into Bagushka or Redoer, and it's also a dark, so you might be able to make dark with it by normal summoning. These are like weird little things, but in simplified game states, you are very happy that this is a Squamata and not a Hell Hollow. Also, you can set this, and the effect isn't half bad either. More importantly, this also generates a bunch of follow-up, because when you mill like Squamata, sending Beast, being able to then shuffle back the Beast to make Winda, knowing that in a future turn, you might send a second Squamata to do the Beast again, is really impactful as well. This makes it so you have endless gas, which is really solid because very often you're going to use most most of your hand to build your boards. Also, sometimes you might like mill the beast and then you send the beast back and now you know, oh, next turn I might just mill one of the squamadas. So overall, you just have like way more odds of actually continuously drawing. Now, some people are like, oh, but what if I mill the beast and then afterwards I mill the squamada that would have been a hell hollow? Okay, fine. But that's gonna happen so much less than the times where you're just very happy to hit squamada rather than hollow that I think it's very important to play this ratio. Now, you might argue, why are you playing 3 instead of 2? And that's because I want to make Winda or 2 Winda every single game turn 0. My opponent goes first. I want to put up that Winda just continuously every time. And with 3, your odds are much better. At first, I was actually playing the malicious package instead. I was just continuously going, I wish Mali was a Shadol. I wish Mali was a Shadol. I wish Mali was a Shadol. Now, I understand malicious is crazy when you go first. You know, you're test handing and you think, whoa, Tier makes the craziest boards with Beatrice and Rulkalos and blah, blah, blah. You're just so happy with the Beatrice because Beatrice is broken. I agree. I was super excited for that as well. You know, Team Copium, let's go. But the issue is, half your games you're going second. And then I was just wishing that that Mali was not sitting in my hand. I was wishing that that Mali was a good mill actually doing something. I was wishing that I could just flood my opponent out on turn 0, which Mali could never do, and these cards can. And at least, once again, you can normal summon your Squamata to do plays, whereas with Mali, you can't do shit. Then we have the full Ishizu engine. I'm seeing people cut these. I don't understand why. These were at 3 some of the most broken cards ever made, and at 1 they still are some of the most broken cards ever made. It's not because they're no longer at 3 that you no longer want to play them. Now you could say, oh, but what if you play against Kashtira? Again, I'm telling you, Kashtira is your lunch break. Give it up already. You could say like, oh, I can play Gamma Seal for that. And yes, 1 in 3 games you might draw the Gamma Seal, but every other game you're just wishing that Gamma Seal was anything else. And if they then open Shifter, the Gamma Seal didn't do anything anyway. So in my opinion, we just give up the cash matchup. Every single regional report you've ever seen from a Tearlaments player is like, oh, I went X1, I went X2, my losses were Kashtira, the rest was free, and that's how the deck works. So I've given that one up. You can keep coping on Triple Tactics Gamma Seal, and I will just go ahead and take my lunch breaks. And then finally, the thing that makes this deck so good in my opinion, we have the Rescue Ace package. These cards are crazy. If you do not know what these do, they essentially say your opponent activates a search, then you will special summon your fire attacker, and then once the search resolves, you will draw 2 cards and send 1 to graveyard. Of course, I'm simplifying, but that is essentially what happens. So your opponent normal summons a Luber, activates effect, you do that. Your opponent normal summons Unicorn, activates effect, you do that. Your opponent normal summons a Pearly, you do that. A special summon as well, of course, but I'm just saying normal summon a lot. All of these types of activations, all of these Stratos cards basically, lead to fire attacker, which then draws you 2 cards and you send 1 to graveyard. And let me tell you, because of the amount of tier name cards and mill payoff that we run, you will, if you draw this, almost always put a Winda on your board. And now your opponent has to deal with the fact that there's a Winda on your board before they can keep on comboing. And if they magically outed the Winda, you still have a bunch of stuff on your field that then will easily break that board, especially if you're playing Guardian Chimera, because you already have the stuff on your board to make that thing blow up the rest. So overall, this engine, in my opinion, is the way to play the deck. This is also why Mali, again, isn't great, because going second, that Mali is just not going to do anything, whereas any Shadol with this is just going to be an auto win. And so yeah, in my opinion, this is the way to go. Going first, by the way, the tier deck already puts up unbreakable boards that always win. So in my opinion, it's not wise to make our board even more overkill. Like, no one's breaking this shit anyway. It's going second where you also need to win. And that's where, in my opinion, the Shadol engine plus Rescue Ace is way better than Malicious. Then for the extra, we have 1 Rulkalos, because of course it's Rulkalos, it's going to be in every tier deck. Then we have double Winda. Now this is the spice. Why double Winda? A lot of people by now play board breakers. Almost every deck can out the 1 Winda just by drawing a board breaker. However, if they activate their board breaker, they're starting to try to play, and then you activate Tearlaments Meta Noise or Sulik, turning the first Winda into the second Winda. Good luck with that. I have also literally done Winda into Winda into Winda, because again, you can have Sulik plus Meta Noise. They are really not gonna play through 2 Windas, and they're definitely not playing through 3 Windas. So to me, if you're really relying on that Winda lock, 2 is absolutely crucial. Now you might say, oh, I don't want to rely on the Winda lock. That's fine too, but in my opinion, we need some really unfair boards. And again, we don't really have enough King of the Swamps to justify putting up like Rulkalos Grafa boards. Next, we're playing the Guardian Chimera. And may I point your attention to the Collector Rare, which you of course cannot see through the sleeve because it's a Collector Rare. God, why did they make this rarity? This is amazing to break any board. And also, if you did Winda lock your opponent, you can just King of the Swamp, activate Polymerization, get rid of your own Winda, make a Guardian Chimera, break whatever they still have left, and then start playing on. Then we have Kaleido Heart, of course, super crucial at breaking boards, and also absolutely incredible to like kill itself with Perlerino and then send whatever you still need. Then we have a Stapelia, because that does come up a lot in certain matchups like Flu and also like Kashtira, and then the Grafa, because we do not like Evenly. Now I will say this deck does play through Evenly very well. A lot of people aren't aware how to play Tearlaments, I think, or at least not how to play it correctly. But even if you don't have Grafa, if you get Evenly, you can like activate Redoer, get rid of it, the new tier name will trigger, then you will get rid of everything but one card, whatever, and then the tier name will make a second thing, and now you still have 2 interrupts. If you have like a Tearlaments Kaj in your hand or a Hafnis in hand, that's 3 interrupts, and those can also turn into a variety of things. Now, of course, if you're playing Beatrice, you play through Evenly even better, and that's of course assuming that we don't have Grafa on board already. So like overall, I feel Evenly, while it can hurt this deck sometimes, properly built boards will usually play through it. Next, I'm playing a bunch of Links, because if I wanted to play a deck that scoops to a D barrier, I would play Branded. So we have 1 Dark. This is just incredible because it makes sprint, it helps OTK lines. Against Branded, it can steal some of the most insane monsters ever made. It's just way too good. We play 1 Barricade Borg blocker. It's very important to get garbage out of our hand sometimes, especially Trivic Karma or an Agido or a Kelbeck. We play 1 Sprint because it's a confirmed fusion. With Dark, you're basically always making a free sprint if you want. And then we're playing an Access Code Talker. Again, really good to go OTK. Also, don't forget that because we're playing the Rescue Ace stuff, you will often already have enough stuff on your field just to make the access code like instantly. And then finally, we have 1 Underworld Goddess. This was at first just for Pearly, but of course Pearly now kind of fell off. But because of the Rescue Ace engine, again, you can basically get rid of every tower. Rescue Ace will easily put up like 4 monsters on your board, and if they then somehow still played, because maybe you couldn't get to Winna, you got to Rule Kolos instead, and they somehow still put up a board, you can just like bloop, get rid of your stuff, Underworld Goddess, and the tower is gone. Next, we have the Xyz package. We have 1 Time Thief Redoer. This card is just super important. Now that we can no longer randomly mill into every single name, it's very important that we can trigger them on purpose, and Redoer is great for that. 1 Bagushka. I know normally if people shifter us, we take the lunch break, but you know, you can always try. And then finally, we have the Zeus, because sometimes it does break a board pretty nicely. Now, of course, for side deck, it kind of just depends on your meta, the meta you're expecting. I feel the meta is still evolving right now, so it's hard to say. So it's kind of up to you. I would like to now actually do a test hand to show you how we are putting up Winda in our opponent's turn every single time. While I shuffle, check out this beautiful playmat. Go to zerodamagegaming.com and use the code SOLEM if you want to have your own. Again, there's also a version without this side, and there's a version without this side. There's also versions with and without the zones. So now let's do our test hand. We have a Goods, we have a Kelbeck, we have a Scream, we have a Metanoise, and we have a Rescue Ace Impulse. Unironically, I did not plan this, but this hand will auto-win, so GG no re. So let's say our opponent is going to normal summon a Stratos and add a card. So they normal summon, they activate, we chain our Impulse, and we're going to special summon our Fire Attacker. So then we will shuffle, let's not look. So then they add, and then on resolution, Fire Attacker sees that, so we draw 2 cards. 1 and 2. So this is really solid because now we actually can choose which of the 2 fusions we want to make, assuming we hit. But we're almost always hitting because Kelbeck can hit like Tearlaments Cash, which will mill more. It can mill Agido, which will mill more. It will hit Rhino Heart, which will always make the thing. It can hit virtually anything. And now you could say, oh, but you're lucky because you have Kelbeck. But if you have Sulik in your hand, you can set Sulik and add Tear Cash, and then Tear Cash can mill 3 more as well. So it's very similar. And if you already have a Shadol in hand together with a Tear name, you can just send the Tier name and it's the same thing. If you have King of the Swamp in hand together with a Tier name, it's the same thing. If you have Rhino Heart with another Tier card in your hand, it's the same thing. Like virtually every hand reproduces big board. It's just extra lucky because we did draw this now. So now we send Kelbeck, and note how even if everything now goes wrong and this Kelbeck doesn't go crazy, we have a free monster on board and we still have 5 cards and we improved our hand because we drew into more. So like at worst this is mini max C, and at best it's an FTK going second. So now Kelbeck is gonna mill us 5, and I swear to God this is the first random hand. We go for this. Holy fucking shit, we're already winning. We go for this. GG. We go for this. GG. We go for this. Whoa, a mill that doesn't do anything. Crazy. Yeah, I mean, everything in this deck is crazy mills anyway. And then 5th, we go Perlerino. Okay, so 2 bad mills, 3 broken mills. That's pretty average. Like, usually it's gonna be something like this. 3, 2, 1. The reasoning for that order is that if this mills us another Shaddoll, we don't have to minus from hand. If this mills a King of the Swamp, we don't have to minus from hand unless our opponent plays a deck that auto loses to Winda. And we also want to mill Sulik before using Scream ideally, so that maybe we can add a tier cache, which could then make even more fusions happen. So this first, we're gonna mill 2, 1 Scream. Okay, that does nothing. And then 1 Rhino Heart. GG, no re. Try again next time, buddy. So then Scream activates and we're going to add a Sulik. So we're gonna add this Sulik, and note how this means that we can extend way further. Normally, if we had milled like badly, this Merly would just go Winda and we might randomly win on the spot. But because we milled pretty good, this Merly is actually gonna fuse with this King of the Swamp. So we're gonna send these two away and make a Rule Kalos. Now again, it depends on the matchup, because maybe our opponent is playing a deck that loses to something else. Maybe you want to really do Grapha to stop like a very important normal spell. All of that is possible. Our Rhino Heart will trigger on the next chain. So what do we do? Of course, there's two options. We can either send the Meta Noise, which will add the tier cache to our hand that we milled earlier, and that way next turn we have more plays, or this turn we have more plays if we want to go really crazy, or we go Sulik and then we search another one. So I think this time I will send the Meta Noise, and then I will special out the Rhino Heart, and then new chain, Meta Noise is 2 and the Rhino Heart is 1. So Meta Noise is going to add this back, then Rhino Heart is gonna send, other than Merly because we've already used that. So this time let's send Halfness. Now the Halfness is gonna go Chainlink 1, and now you need to kind of think how crazy you want to go, because you could go Halfness trying to fuse and then chain the tier cache on it, which then summons itself out before the Winda sees the summon, and that way if she still hits something crazy, maybe you make another fusion or something like that, or you keep this in hand to just, you know, play on your own turn. So that kind of depends on you, but this time, you know what, let's go fucking crazy. So we're gonna chain this and we're going to banish Meta Noise because we might mill Grief to add it to our hand. So here goes. And then Halfness is gonna fuse together with the Shaddoll Squamata from our hand, making a Winda. Let's put it right here. Now next chain, tier cache is gonna activate to mill 3 cards. Let's see what we get. We get a Shaddoll Beast, okay. We get a Shaddoll Squamata, which does nothing. And we got a King of the Swamp, which is cool for next turn, that's fine. So then Shaddoll Beast is gonna activate and it's gonna draw us a card. Oh, okay, Rhino Heart. GG no re, right? So now our opponent needs to play through a Rule Kalos anti-special summon, Winda, which is an auto-win Floodgate, and then even if they somehow did that, I don't know how, but let's say they did, we still have 4 cards to play through whatever pathetic board they put up afterwards. And there's a bunch of dead bodies here. You can make like Winda plus something into Dark to play through your own Winda, or you can just Underworld Goddess whatever they made if you somehow want to do that. This setup, it's over. Honestly, this board is better than what Ishizu Tier used to put up going second. This is also better than what Tier was putting up at the European Championship last year going second. The Rescue Ace package, the Tier cache, and all of this working together is just extremely consistently putting up bullshit like this. Now, of course, you're not every time gonna have Rule plus Winda, but you are extremely often gonna have just Winda or just Rule, with like a bunch of stuff and having Resolve Maxi. There's also been hands where I literally go second like that, and my hand might look something like this, where I plus so much from all these random mills that I just have like a billion cards in my hand and a crazy board like this and just GG auto win. So that is the deck. Those are my reasonings as to why I play this way. Now, of course, if our opponent has the Ash for this card, that hurts, but at least that means they now wasted their Ash that way and they will no longer be able to use it on our Sharon, which is also a win in my book. Also, I have literally had boards with double Winda. This deck can put up literally anything turn 0. So this is my current tier deck. I hope you found this very interesting. Yes, I'm very passionate about this deck. I absolutely love this archetype, even though right now it is not the best deck in the format because Kashtira is just a menace. This deck just cannot play through. I understand some people play like Tactics and Fenrir and Gameciel, but it just doesn't fix the fact that 1 in 3 games our opponent will go Shifter and auto win. There's almost nothing we can do about that. So instead I opted to just go, okay, I'll take that loss unless I go first and they don't open Shifter, and then I'll instead absolutely dominate every other matchup. That's all. I hope you found this very interesting. Again, if you want to pick up a beautiful playmat or deck box, go to zerodamagegaming.com and use the code Solemn. I will see you soon. Ciao.